Welcome to the Ecom Profit Podcast. I'm your host, Dawn Sinkula, and today we have media buying experts here ready to talk about things happening during fourth quarter, trends that will be happening in the online digital marketing space, and all things that you need to know to help you grow and scale your business. Alom and Daniel, welcome to the show. Let's have you introduce yourselves really quickly. Daniel, why don't you go first? Tell us a little bit about your background. We were just talking before the show. How long have you actually been in this space and media buying? And we'll start there.
Yeah. So I'm Daniel. I've been working with Dawn for Dawn, 4 or 5 years now?
Or
5 years?
5 years.
But I've been in the digital marketing space really since about 2014, I think, best I can remember. So we're getting close to 10 years. As far as just the media buying, I probably bought my first Facebook ads in 2016, 2015 or 2016. So 8-9 years.
So you've been
Media
doing this a
buying
while.
specifically on Facebook.
You've seen some things.
I have seen a lot of things.
You've
Yeah.
seen some stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
Alom, introduce yourself and give us your background on how long you've been doing this.
Hey everyone, Alom here. So, just to kind of add to it, I've been working with you, Dawn, I think since 2021 or something.
2018 is when I think you first came on, like kind of part-time-ish,
okay.
and then more full-time a couple years. Yeah, I know.
Okay. Well, I mean, well, we had a whole lockdown in between that, which blurs the lines, right? I think I put my first ad on Facebook around 2012-ish. This is, back in the day where you could run ads almost, it was crazy back then, right? You could just do anything almost. So I've been almost just over 10 years now, I guess.
So I've also been, I've had Digital Dawn, the agency, since 2014. Media buying started right about that 2016 timeframe, I think, as well. 15 or 16. I think a lot of us were in the same initial groups where we started learning about media buying. And that's kind of how we knew each other, got to know each other in a lot of different ways. It's kind of a small community, actually, of online media buyers. It's not as big as you think, but we've all been doing this for quite a while. And so the reason I bring this up is because I want our listeners to recognize, like, we have seen at this point now some of the most profitable, and we're going to stay with Meta specifically, Facebook, Instagram. But we've seen times where you put $1 in, you get $5 out. We've seen the world of iOS where everything kind of went to shit, and now we're kind of on the other side of it. And so the conversation today is really about what we're seeing now and what we potentially could see in the future. But we've basically seen it all at this point. Wouldn't you agree?
We have run the gamut and it's, I feel like I've almost kind of learned that anytime there's mass, I'll do finger quotes, panic amongst digital marketers about something, listen to it, but don't panic. Like,
right.
We are here. There are so many people that 2 years ago would have said that we would not be doing anything that we're doing right now on Facebook.
Right.
And we are, so.
I kind of look at Facebook as like your 401k, like something that you should put money into, but don't look at it every day because it's going to make you crazy when you watch it going like this all the time. I kind of think about it like that. Like the trends of Meta are so inconsistently consistent that it makes people crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good analogy. I mean, here in the UK, we don't have 401k, but I was running ads for one of my cousins, right? And one thing he always asked me for was for a daily report. And I tried to explain to him is you don't make decisions on daily KPIs. Like he had this, like the solo ads mentality, and with media buying it's completely different.
Right.
You look at buckets of 3 days, 7 days, 14 days, etc.
Right.
Everyone would turn off your ads if you looked at it on a day-to-day basis. Like,
100%. Yep.
100%. You would go crazy. You would go crazy. Okay. So, I've heard a lot of people say, post iOS, things have not ever been the same. Right. And that, I can't get my ads to work anymore, or things are just not like they used to be. But I can confidently say, like with our clients, we haven't necessarily seen that as much. We've seen the vulnerability, I think, of the market being a little bit more up and down than we have in the past. I think we've seen tracking be the biggest issue more so than anything else, but results wise, I don't know that I could confidently say that iOS has like made this massive impact on results, but more so on the ability to see whether your ads are working. Would you agree or disagree?
Alom, you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree for the most part. I feel like initially there was a few bumps in the road,
Yeah.
mainly with attribution and tracking. Like we had campaigns where like Facebook Meta Ads Manager was off by like 80%. But I feel like it just drove the point home where you need to look at the source of truth and look at alternative tracking options. However, having just said all of that, um, Facebook has kind of got their shit together. Can I say that?
You can.
Okay, and it's drastically improved. It's drastically improved.
Yeah.
Still not perfect, but it never has been, and you should expect that right anyway. So cross-referencing with your source of truth is always important.
Yeah. Daniel, thoughts?
Yeah, I would say I would agree to what both of you are saying. I think it's kind of obviously it's great to be able to look at an ad and know down to the number exactly which purchase came from each ad and campaign and ad set and audience and all those things. That's great. We can't do that as well right now, but that also is not reality. Like
Right.
that is not how consumers buy things now. So it would be great if we knew that every customer clicked on this ad and then that was the first time they thought about it and then they purchased it and that's it. That was the whole story. It's just not now.
Right.
So you always have this battle between platforms like, well, they saw my ad and then they purchased. So this is attributed to that. It's forced everybody to look more holistically at their ad spend, at their performance of their ads of each channel, and then also their business as a
Right.
whole, their lifetime value, all these things. So
Mhm.
yeah, it would be great for us to know exactly where the full story behind each person purchase. We can't do that as well because of iOS. That's not really reality anyway, so that's fine.
Yeah.
And good businesses with good products are still getting great
Good
performance
results.
off of
Yeah.
Meta, like
Right.
it's changed. It's also become more competitive. Like I think that because there are more people that are good at Facebook ads, like you just have to do
Know
good
what you're
work
doing.
and
Yeah.
use good products and all that. But it still works great. It does. It still
Well,
works
it's
great.
still the biggest platform on social media as of today. It's still the most used platform of any social media platform that's out there. So TikTok is a close second, I think now, and is definitely giving it a bit of run for its money, but there's still 3 billion people using Facebook. So when people say, oh, it's kind of tapped out, or I feel like, the landscape has changed so much that it's not really worth my time and effort, I always think, well, I don't know if that's exactly true, because when 3 billion people are still using the platform, there is an audience out there for you. You just have to find it, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
And it's
100%.
not just, people say, well, but my audience isn't on Facebook. And if your audience isn't on Facebook, then your audience isn't online at all, honestly.
Right.
Like, yeah, there are
That's a good
maybe
point.
more young people in different platforms, but there are so many people of every demographic on there.
And
Right.
those young people get older eventually and join Facebook. So
Yeah.
Right.
And before, like you said, Don, before we started talking, like Facebook has been around for so long because it is so good at adapting. And
Right.
now with the way that they push reels and stuff, that's obviously a little bit geared towards the TikTok style, the young person
Right.
stuff. So
Right.
uh, your people are on Facebook, safe to say.
I think one of the things that are, it's really challenging. We talked about the source of truth a little bit, and I get a lot of questions about what is the source of truth and where do you go to find the source of truth? And there's debatable, do you do Google Analytics? Do you use third-party tools? What is really the source of truth? And I think at the agency, we've sort of geared ourselves towards Triple Whale a little bit for our e-commerce clients as the source of truth. And I think what I would say when people, struggle with the attribution piece, they don't oftentimes have another tool or set up a way for them to have a source of truth. What's your thoughts about, using Google Analytics versus a third-party tool, so on and so forth, for the common user? I mean, most people are just trying to figure out if they've done this right. How do you do that? Or what are some ways that you might recommend?
Yeah, Google Analytics is great if you know how to set up properly. And even
Yeah.
though it's a simple platform, it's very complex to set up properly. It goes over my head even now.
Yeah.
I think with something like Triple, and they obviously have Free Willy now, which is the free option.
Yeah.
They just do everything for you. You plug in Shopify, you plug in Facebook ads. And when we say Facebook, we mean Meta, right? So
Yeah.
including Instagram and so on and so forth. You plug in, Google ads, and they just curate all the KPIs that you want, and then you can pin your most important KPIs to the top. It just relieves a lot of that kind of, it does heavy lifting for you. So
Yeah.
Google Ads is great if you have someone who's an expert and get set up for you. We've got Google Tag Manager, all of that fun stuff. I just feel like the way we have it, it kind of removes a lot of the stuff that is not needed, and we get the source of truth all in one dashboard, and we can just see exactly what's happening when we need to see it.
Yeah. Google Analytics and Google Analytics for GA4 kind of changed some of that piece as well, making things, the intent was to make it less complex. And I think it confused people more in a lot of different ways. But Triple Whale being sort of our internal team source of truth, more so for our Shopify clients versus anything else, I think has been probably the best. But having something, I think, to use as your source of truth, Google Analytics, Triple Whale, there's High Roast, there's, Wicked Reports, there's tons of third parties, but having something that you're consistently looking at is the key, because what we can say confidently with iOS is that the tracking off platform or on platform is not accurate. And so having something else, so if you're just using Meta as your source of truth, you're going to make decisions incorrectly because of some of the things that you can or cannot see. Agree?
Yeah. The thing I would add is that, like, you have to have the understanding now that you can own the attribution answer can only be so good. Like,
right.
You can't have the perfect thing. So, a lot of times if people haven't done this for long, all they want to focus on is what's the ROAS of each ad and each campaign and each channel. And I understand the desire to do that, but you kind of need to step back a little bit and say, like, that return on ad spend that's just new customers for the most part. I mean, obviously some from existing customers, but that's just one piece of the full picture. So in addition to trying to find the source of truth for how your channels and how your ads are performing, you also have to understand on the bigger picture of, how much am I spending? What is my total revenue? How much is each new customer costing me from any channel? Total, organically, ads, podcasts, whatever.
Right.
And then you can start to drill down and look at attribution. But I do think that a lot of people spend too much time on attribution instead of just saying, I know that it's somewhere between, like, it's better than this and it's worse than this. It's somewhere in this window. Let's take that now and apply it to our big picture strategy. So the source of truth is a little muddy now. So you just have to do, and that's kind of what we do is we know it's better than this and worse than this, and then we watch trends for everything, and then you can kind of start to correlate what we think is working best and all that. So
we know that it takes now, I think the latest statistic that I heard is that it takes somewhere between 10 and 12 touches for people to actually purchase something from a business online. So that means that people have to see your ad multiple times, and they're most likely going to see it in multiple places through multiple different avenues. And so saying that Meta is the source of truth, to your point, Daniel, could be incorrect. You could be, bringing somebody to you from a podcast initially, and then they see an ad, and then they see this, and then they get an email, and then they go through that. I mean, it takes a lot to get somebody to buy now versus even in the past, it was like, oh, hey, this is a new company. They're, one and done or two times and you got to purchase. Now it's a lot harder because there's a lot more competition in that space.
Yeah.
Plus, I think there's just a lot of noise on who's legit and who's not, right?
Yeah, it also kind of depends on on the price of the product too.
True.
Like,
Yeah.
you
Agreed.
know, like if
Yeah.
you have, and a lot of people, this is where, you as a business owner or a media buyer, you have to make sure that you're applying the right information to your situation. Like if you
Right.
hear a podcast and somebody says, yeah, for my business, it takes 27 touches for somebody to make a purchase. Turns out they're selling a couch that's $4,000 on Facebook, you know?
Right.
If you
Right.
have a business where you're selling a $40 product up front, you might be able to get a sale in 2 or 3 touches.
Yep.
You know?
Good
So
point.
it's like it just depends, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think when we transition our topic here a little bit more to fourth quarter and shopping behaviors and things like that specifically, let's talk a little bit about that diversifying of ad placement within the ecosystem of Meta and that type of thing. So, there's various platforms. We've got our Facebook, Instagram shops, all these different things. Do you feel like fourth quarter is the time to kind of diversify placement within the Meta realm? Is it a time to be trying different things, to, going out on a limb? Or is this the time where you kind of hunker down and do what has been working the most?
I think the only new things that you should do is if you're running offers, obviously you can't run them all year round. You do that and you increase budgets because it does get more expensive. So on average, I think it's like 15 to 20%. You get similar amount of results, but it's just a more expensive time to be running ads. So you just have to expect that. I don't think you should go crazy trying something outrageous.
Do you think there's specific places or specific platforms or ad formats on Meta specifically that will yield higher engagement during fourth quarter? Do you think that there's different, strategies that we won't see that work as well during first quarter, second quarter that we do see during fourth quarter?
No, I think it'll be the same. Personally, Daniel, what do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. I think the biggest thing is to have diversity in your ad account and let
Yeah.
Yeah.
the market conditions are going to change. We can try to predict how they change, but we can only do that so well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But what Facebook is so brilliant at still is predicting who is going to purchase when. And it doesn't get talked about that much, but it's such a giant part of Facebook ads. So for me, if somebody asks me, well, for this business, how should I structure my campaigns? And it's always an answer of you need to give Facebook options. You
Yeah.
need to let Facebook use its machine, use its system, and then you need to give it a few different audiences to try, and you need to give it a few different versions of creative. So some images, some like still images, some videos, some reels, some GIFs,
Mm-hmm.
and then let it distribute it. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't do great, but most of the time Facebook knows better than we do. And so that's what I would say. And, hopefully for the year coming up to this point, you've been able to see which images work best and which GIFs work best and which videos. And then you give it to Facebook and you say, distribute as you see. And sometimes it'll spend all of your budget on images for a little while, and then it'll start feeding it to the videos, and it's just based off the opportunity. Like I think we saw with UGC, UGC was so crazy popular for a while.
Yeah.
And especially UGC on like stories and reels. And for a while, those placements were really cheap. Well, now what's happened is that since so many people focus on video, that, there's a little more opportunity for cheaper placements with images sometimes.
Yeah. Right.
And it's not even the images convert better. It's that there's more space for them. There's more real estate there. So, and the only way to take advantage of that is to give Facebook options and let it adjust, trust but verify, keep an eye on it, of course, but like, just watch, just give Facebook options.
Yeah, there's one of our clients that had that mentality, and I decided to split videos UGC from images, and the images are just killing video right now. And it's cheaper to run on them. They're converting higher, more sales, more revenue. So yeah, 100%.
And that's crazy because
I'm sorry, go ahead, Don.
Well, I just was going to say that's crazy because if you'd asked maybe 6 months ago or a year ago this time, we may have all just said, Video is where it's at. UGC content's where it's at.
Yeah,
That's what
exactly.
you need. You need more UGC, all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
you know, the ups and downs that we talked about at the beginning, I mean, those are the trends and the things that you've got to be able to test. And I would say it's not probably the best time to start testing all of this stuff during fourth quarter. Would you agree or disagree?
I would, just because, I mean, it's more
Absolutely.
competitive and it's more expensive. So you're, you know, when you test, you're always balancing the stuff that works and the stuff that doesn't. You see what works and what doesn't, you decrease the stuff that doesn't, you increase the stuff that does.
Right.
Well, when things are more expensive, the stuff that doesn't work is going to cost you more money. Like the oopsies, not really oopsies, but you know what I mean? Like the stuff that just doesn't work, it's going to cost you more. So definitely shouldn't be just like trying to blaze all sorts of new trails this time of year. This is where
and ultimately Black Friday is you know your the time of the year where you might have your biggest day kind of thing. So you don't want to waste time testing on your potentially biggest day of the year kind of thing. So just what works, do that again with the new offer, whatever, and go from there.
Yeah. And Dawn, you asked specifically, are there things in Q4 to what Alom just said, specifically with Black Friday deals? You know, people are now so trained to get on Facebook and see what deals are out there today. So, you know, this is where the old advertising saying of clear always beats clever is definitely true. For Black Friday, you don't have to get super clever with your ads. Like a text ad that has clearly what your deal is, the terms of it, click here, go. That's really appreciated and works really well because it's super direct and people are ready to buy, you know? So that maybe needs some consideration.
Well, and I don't think, you know, for me, I've given this advice in the past is like, if you aren't running Facebook ads before fourth quarter, it's probably not the right time to start it for the first time, because one, it's expensive. Two, you're going to be doing a lot of testing and you're not going to have the results. So, you know, I think for a lot of clients that come to us and say, oh, you know, it's November 1st, I'm ready to start running ads. I'm always like, probably not the best time. I mean, you could put some feelers in there. You can get into the game for sure, but like doing a lot of budget testing and different things like that for the first time, I don't think is always a good idea. Would you agree or disagree with that statement? Because I know some people just want to throw their, you know, product out there, see what happens, and, you know, they're okay losing some money, but I don't know if that's a really good strategy to take during fourth quarter specifically.
I would say if you have a budget that you're okay with kind of quote unquote burning through, go for it. But if you're limited with your budget, not a good idea.
Not a good idea. Yeah.
And if when you do have a budget, you might want to try with kind of existing audiences, existing customers first to see if that works before going kind of cold.
Got it. Yeah. Okay, I want to go back to the creative conversation for just a minute, because this is one of the things that I've seen maybe with audiences and creative change, maybe more so in the last year than I have in the past, right? So audiences being, you know, we're not able to break them down as like thoroughly as we used to because of iOS and other things. So, you know, those layering of audiences that we used to do of this and this and this and this, so we could just really target in on people. That's not an option anymore. And creative used to kind of be this sort of, yeah, you know, okay, let's put some stuff up. But if our audiences are really good or our targeting is really good, the creative maybe can be a little less. But that's flipped around now. And it really is all about creative and having enough creative to go through. What are some things that Meta's doing differently with creative over this last year that's really impacting the way that we're doing ads?
I would say, first off, it kind of goes back to that Meta's ability to predict who's going to purchase what when. And so Meta goes through your creative and figures out what your creative is about and then shows it to people accordingly, you know? So, and it kind of goes back to that clear always beats clever.
Right.
If your ad is super roundabout and isn't direct, then Facebook's not going to know what it is as much, and it's not going to know who it's for as much.
Right.
So, just being direct, and people, like, of course, attention spans just always go down. Like, I feel like we're on a constant trend for the rest of time of people's attention spans going down. So,
Right. Right.
like,
Right.
creatively, yes, you have to grab their attention, but it has to be clear. Like, they have to know as soon as they look at it, what is this for?
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. That's maybe my best answer right now.
Yeah, I mean, just to piggyback off that, Daniel, and something you said earlier, the Facebook machine is genius. Nothing else can be said about that. And a lot of, like, kudos has to be given to the Zuck and his team, because they really did a good job about, who they think will buy, looking at their behaviors of how they act, at their purchasing behavior, all of that stuff. And they can read your creative, like Daniel said, your copy, even your landing page and your offer. And then when you're clear, like Daniel said as well, it would just work. And Daniel, you mentioned about being, clear always beats clever for kind of Black Friday. I would say that's throughout the year.
Yeah.
Puns
Yeah.
are great, they're funny, but if it doesn't tell your prospect what the hell you do, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter how good your product is,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
clear, be clear.
Well, and
Marketing
I think
101.
the machine has gotten smarter over time, right? So we've been doing this now for, we said between all of us about 10 years each or 12 years each of, doing media buying. And I think this last year, I've really seen the Meta machine get super, super smart. And I don't know if it's the introduction of some AI tools, if it's just that the machine over time has gotten better, but being able to find those people based on your creative and your copy versus interest based is really, pretty impressive. Like, it's a pretty crazy thing to think that Facebook can go scan your creative, scan your copy, and then go find people who they think are going to, purchase your product. I mean, it's just crazy to think about it that way. But to your point, if that's not really good, if your creative's not really good, your copy's not really good, Facebook can't go find those people. And before, you used to be able to force it to find those people through those interests. And now we do broad targeting more so than anything else in a lot of cases. You agree?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, with the broad conversation, a lot of times now, I mean, like we said, we want diversity in the account. So we still have interest-based audiences, and a lot of times maybe initially they'll work pretty good, but we always have some broad audiences in there
Yeah.
too.
Yep.
And once Facebook figures out what's going on, a lot of times those broad audiences just not only get to where they outperform, but they can perform for longer, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
like maybe
yeah.
anecdotal, like that's kind of how it seems to me after
Yeah.
looking at it. I don't know. Have y'all kind of noticed the same thing? Broad
Yeah.
versus interest?
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. But that, Dawn, going back to what you mentioned about Facebook, the machine reading your creative, it's super kind of nitty gritty. Like, it even reads, if you've got a person on there, it reads, the background of the person. Are they African American? Are they Caucasian? Are they Asian? And they're more likely to deliver to buyers you with that demographic. And so, like Daniel said, give diversity to your creative. You should also give diversity on the models you choose, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
It's very clever. It's very clever. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a bug. I think we've all talked about this. This has been like 2-3 years ago now. I saw a bug that was going around where instead of showing, like when you're on your Facebook feed, you saw an ad, and instead of seeing the actual creative, you saw the machine's interpretation of what that creative was. And it was like something super specific, like a boy playing throwing a lacrosse ball with a rhinoceros or something. Like, so it wasn't just like human playing soccer. It was like
Right. Right.
Yeah.
very specific, and it was instantly able to read exactly what that creative was.
Yeah.
So it's not like you have to say this is an ad about soccer. It's like it's so good at reading what's on a video, what's in
Mhm.
your copy, all that stuff. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
I think talking about bugs, we've given a lot of praise to Meta on it so far. I think we
Yeah.
need to dial it back a bit. There has been a lot of bugs on the platform in the
Yes.
recent weeks and months.
Yeah.
Most recently, we're recording this in October, so just like Q4 started. I think it was 2 weekends ago. Facebook was delivering ads without the creative, so it was just a copy. So that obviously affects everyone's ads. The creative is it's attention. It's a scroll stopper. It's the attention
Right.
grabber, right? So when you don't have that, you're going to be burning through money. I'm not sure if Facebook charges the same. Probably won't refund you what they spent.
We'll each get a nickel. We'll get a
We'll
nickel
get a penny
refund
back for our time,
in like
right?
March of next year.
Yeah. Right.
So yes, it's not all roses and whatnot.
No,
There has been some big bumps and hurdles, but I think overall, I think we can all agree that it's a platform that it's great for small businesses and startups and so on and so forth.
I think Meta, like any other SaaS tool, is going to have bumps, right? We're going to have things that are going to go. I think we just feel the impact of them bigger and more so when, of course, we've got, client money into it, our money into it, that kind of stuff. It's hard to go, oh, well, that was just a bump, and a lot of people see those sort of things and then they pull way back and say, okay, it's not working, or I'm going to turn my ads off. And that, to our earlier point, it's like, let it go, adjust, be watching, don't let it burn through money. But just because that happens doesn't necessarily mean the platform is, not going to work for you anymore. I mean, it's a machine. It has glitches, just like anything will. It's going to have things that are going to impact your ability at some point. It just will.
Yep.
And I've kind of come to realize that that's going to happen during fourth quarter more so than any, because more people are in there, more people are playing, the money's bigger, they're changing things. It's just, it's crowded and noisy. And so I think that's the case, but still, to the point of, Meta being the platform of choice, I feel like, we were talking before we started recording, like if you'd asked any of us if this is what we would be doing now at this point in our careers or in our lives, the concept of having a small business be able to sell millions of dollars worth of products across the world, it just never was even something that people could form a reality around. And so I think we just need to keep in perspective sometimes that for small businesses, all social platforms, really used properly, will help you grow and scale your business if done appropriately. Meta is just our preferred choice at this point, but it still is something that if you had a brick and mortar building, you would never be able to get in front of this many people for the price that you're paying for it. Even in the most expensive times, you still couldn't pay to have someone come in from Australia and buy your product in your brick and mortar store. Like it just would never happen.
Yeah.
So it's just an amazing, amazing platform that I think a lot of times we get so much faster.
It's so much faster for a business to to validate what's a good offer. I mean, we could take a new business and run ads for 3 to 6 months with literally that has never sold anything. Take a new business and in 3 to 6 months, in my opinion, you could run ads and you could say you have a product that's there's demand, or you should probably pump the brakes. Whereas you think about 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you're going to buy a building or rent a building. You're going to get inventory. You're going to put up billboards, radio ads. You're going to build it and they will come, hopefully. And that's all you can do,
Yep.
So,
and you wouldn't reach anybody outside of your city or state, or barely even be able to get, within a 25-mile radius. I mean, you'd be really happy if people were coming from, that far around. And so I bring that up a lot with clients too, because I know people get frustrated, or even potential people that are thinking about doing Facebook, they get frustrated by it. They hear the horror stories. They've heard, I burned money, I haven't made it, so on and so forth. But using it holistically as part of your overall business plan, I think, is an important piece. And understanding that there is no other platform or tool out there that will allow you to grow your business as fast and as efficiently as paid media at this point. Now, we can look at this in 5 years, and I'm sure there'll be something different that maybe we'll all go, remember when we were talking about Meta? Who knows? But I think it's been around a long time. I don't see it going anywhere, and I don't see it really fading into the, distance. But I just, it's amazing that small businesses can grow and scale at this level with such a small amount of money. It's amazing.
Yeah, 100%. We just got a testimonial from one of our clients who, sold over $1 million with us And if they didn't have something like what we were doing, how would they
Never
sell
would
their
have.
course kind of thing, right? How would they sell their course kind of thing? So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
Right. We have client after client where I think to myself, if you were in a brick and mortar, there's no way you'd never be where you are right now, or you'd never be able to sell it like you're selling it at this point. So
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
kind of like the idea between, you know, what businesses perform better on Google and what businesses perform better on Facebook. Like,
yeah,
Mhm.
you know, if you sell an everyday mass product like a pot, some pots and pans, yeah, people, it's in their head, okay, I want to cook, I have a new house, I need to get some pots and pans. Google stainless pan, whatever. Like there are certain clients like the one all I know is referring to where
Mhm.
it's there's part of their business model that's like people don't even know it exists. They
right.
Right.
don't even know that that is something that's a thing,
Yep.
you know.
Yep.
And with Facebook, you're able to kind of say, hey, you know, did you know? And then
This is a thing.
now that you
Right.
know this, we have the thing for that, you know.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
100%.
like that can,
Introducing.
like to your point, Don, that can never happen in a brick and mortar store,
Never.
you know, unless you're
Never.
in a giant, one of the biggest cities in the country and you had some prime real
In a
estate. So
mall and in a
yeah,
thing and
that,
in a,
yeah,
something like that for sure.
Right.
But
yeah,
for most businesses, and even when I consider, small scale business, I mean, we're talking businesses doing over $1 million. That's pretty unheard of in small business land, right? Across, but there are
In
more
such a short
business
time
owners.
frame.
Right.
yeah,
In such a
Mm.
short time frame. And there are more and more business owners now that are crossing over that $1 million mark than there ever has been, at least in the US, ever has been. And that's, I think, solely because of the ability to get onto paid media platforms and be able to sell their things, TikTok shops, Facebook shops, all sorts of different types of shops, and be able to use ads as their preferred method. I mean, I think it's crazy. So all that to say that I think we're all big fans of Meta, obviously not
Mhm.
perfect system, not a perfect tool, but we are definitely fans of paid media as it relates to helping businesses grow and scale. Any final words that you want to share as we sort of wrap up to encourage people to either try it or continue on as they think about paid media?
Yeah, I mean, if you think you've got a good product, or whether it's physical or a course, and you somehow qualify the product in your market, and then you implement marketing 101, be clear, not clever, run ads, run ads. It will perform. It's just if you separate everything in buckets, your product needs to be good, and then your marketing needs to be good, and then ads will definitely work for you. I have no doubts on that.
Yep.
yeah.
Agreed. Daniel, any
Yeah,
final thoughts?
the piece of advice I'll give is maybe not as much around ads. Obviously, that's what we do, and we see everybody focusing on ads. But if you do like going with Alam's sequence of proven good product that sells, marketing 101, organic sales, ads, then after that, if you stop there, your business most likely will still not be successful. Like,
Right.
yes, ads, yes, all those things. But then if you do not focus on the lifetime value of those customers after they make their first purchase that comes from ads, it's going to be really hard to be profitable
Yep.
long term. So look at everything holistically. Ads are a giant, giant important piece of it. But make sure you're also then treating those customers like you would want to treat real people,
Retaining them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we could do a whole podcast just on retention
Yeah.
of clients, because I so agree with you, Daniel. That's one piece that I mean, we have helped clients break over that threshold because of that lifetime value mindset, right? Like we have helped clients with email marketing, text message marketing, follow-up, bundling, upsells, all sorts of different things, second purchases, all sorts of different marketing strategies that you can use to help that lifetime value. And you're absolutely right. That's where the profitability comes in. And the profitability, obviously is where I love to focus my time and attention, because I think that's really what makes a strong, healthy business, is that profit, obviously. And I think a lot of people forget that. So that's a really good point, and one that we should come back and have a conversation. I'll put that on my list
For
of things
sure.
to talk about.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. This was amazing, super helpful. We could talk for hours and hours about all things. I know we could. But thank you guys for your insights and perspective. And if you have any questions, as always, we have the ability to reach out to the team. If you have any follow-up questions that you want to have answered, reach out and we will either do another podcast on that topic, or we will get you into our email system so that you can get those answers. All right. Thank you so much for listening, everybody.